Palmer led the league in tackles with 85. The deep ball for Darius Prince, and Philadelphia's on the board first.
On the draw, this is Bryson Allen. And Allen weaving his way all the way down to the 22.
10-yard line, 5. Mayfield, Dancy, all around. Throw as far as he can throw it. Jump ball coming. Crazy stuff. Not this time.
And you want to be a wide receiver, you're going to have to take a little bit of a hit like that as Brown got him in that shoulder, but watch. Those are teeth.
Do we have a dentist on staff here?
Another week and another Stallions win, 7-0, heading into week 8. And then also Arlington got their first win. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about a little bit more about the UFL here in a bit. But obviously, Bryce, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited after all this action from night one.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously some great games. A little bit better if you're an Arlington fan than maybe a Memphis fan right now. But,
much better, actually. Much better than being a Showboats fan.
Yeah, that game got out of hand for the Showboats really quickly, but we'll get into that shortly. And then obviously on the other side, Birmingham and St. Louis probably once again lived up to the hype. The game of the week, possibly the game of the year. Very close all the way down to the last second. Thought it was a great game, which we'll break that down here shortly as well. But obviously, let's just go ahead and get into this Arlington game. Obviously, if you guys were here with us when we just launched, you heard Bryce cheering. He's obviously an Arlington fan. So why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts on the game? I mean, obviously a much better performance for Arlington than the past 6 weeks.
Yeah, Luis Perez showed why he is the most consistent and, in my opinion, best quarterback in the league. He's a league leader in passing. He's consistently there for his team every single week. And I swear, man, AJ McCarron, nobody can throw a ball like Luis Perez in the UFL. I mean, it's not like he has that much help either. He reminds me a lot of a guy like Chad Pennington, where not a big arm. He can put the ball on the money though.
That's pretty fair in terms of the accuracy. I mean, he's great when it comes to that and the short to intermediate passing game. But I've harped a lot on his lack of arm strength. I would argue that he's got some pretty solid talent around him this year with Sal Cannella, Devion Smith. Oh yeah, okay. So they definitely didn't have Devion Smith, 100-yard rusher today.
Never.
No, definitely was also happy to see Lindsey Scott throw a touchdown pass.
Yes.
It seems like they've been using him strictly as a runner before this, and was kind of encouraged to see him throw a pass. Hopefully he can move into the lineup a little bit more as the season goes on. Interesting to see how Memphis is kind of working their quarterback system in games like this. I mean, we saw Troy Williams throw 21 passes. Case Cook is through 17. It was kind of interesting. Any thoughts on what they're doing with their quarterback situation?
I'm not a fan of it. I don't know if Case Cookis is 100% healthy because he's taken a lot of hits this year. And I like him as a quarterback more than Troy Williams. Troy Williams is obviously very talented, and he could play in this league for a different team. But I think if I'm John DeFilippo, I need to stick with Case Cookis and build the offense around what he can do.
I would argue the same. But definitely Troy Williams is a little bit more athletic than Case, brings a different element to that offense, which seemed to help Memphis at times in this game. Obviously Troy Williams ran 6 times, 34 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, was a little bit of a factor in the run game there, but Case Cookis has shown that in his game as well. Maybe not to the extent that Williams has, but still kind of interesting to see them kind of working back and forth between those two quarterbacks. But moving forward to the Birmingham game, like I said before, great game. Why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts on this one?
Adrian Martinez, I think, proved today that he is the MVP of this league. He's just a step above every other quarterback in terms of ability to stretch a play out, ability to just be a consistent playmaker for his team. His accuracy at times can be shaky, but his athleticism makes up for it, and he has a good enough arm to get it done through the air. Fine day. He's a solid back on the ground, and that Stallions defense is suffocating. I don't think I've seen a team, maybe St. Louis at times today, but even then it felt like they were just not able to do what they wanted at all.
There definitely were some times where it seemed like they were shutting St. Louis down pretty well, but I mean, obviously they kept it close, 26-30 by the end of the game. Definitely Stallions could have pulled away at times, but kind of failed to convert in certain key situations. But it's one of those things. I mean, young quarterback, you're going to make some mistakes as things go on. But definitely an interesting game nonetheless. It's going to be interesting to see this game the opposite direction in the championship if it kind of plays out how we all expect. I don't think I actually ever got your prediction for the championship game. Do you see St. Louis and Birmingham playing this out again?
I'd like to see the Brahmas in there. I'd like to see the Brahmas beat St. Louis and get to the title game against the Stallions. I don't think that they're going to win that title game against the Stallions. I would just like to see it happen. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Definitely did not see that coming from you. Hey, okay. Any particular reason you want to see the Brahmas in there?
Well, I think that San Antonio is probably my second most favorite franchise out of the 8 teams. And I like the team as a whole. I think that they have a really good core, and I just like to see them have success. It's not really, it's more of a me personal kind of thing. It's not really like I think that they're like, one of the best 2 teams in the league.
That's fair. So we kind of talked last week about these games a little bit, but we'll go ahead and get into them a little bit more. With Michigan announcing that Brian Lewerke is going to be the starter for them versus DC. We both picked DC last week. Do you think that kind of changes your opinion at all? Does that cement your pick for DC? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it cements it for sure. From what I've seen from Brian Lewerke, well, who knows? We said the same thing about Danny Etling before he came in for EJ Perry, and then he had a pretty good day. He didn't throw the game away. I don't think Lewerke's going to do that from what I've seen, but who knows what can happen? It's the UFL.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. I'd have to agree on feeling a little bit more confident in my pick on DC here with Brian Lewerke in there. I don't think he's necessarily the athlete that Etling, Perry, any of their other quarterbacks for that matter on, probably even Perkins at that point. So it's going to be interesting to see him start. Obviously Michigan guy, Michigan Panthers, but we'll see. We'll see. It's been a while since we've seen him start a game, so hopefully find some success here. But definitely going to be hard against the DC Defenders defense. So you talked a little bit about San Antonio possibly making the championship game. Obviously, this upcoming game here against Houston is kind of key in Houston. Any thoughts on that game? Has anything changed since last week since we discussed this one?
It's a huge game, not just for the teams playing in it, but also for my Renegades. If the Brahmas win, the Renegades are eliminated from the playoffs. So while I will be actively rooting against the Brahmas, I think they're going to win.
That's Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, but I don't expect a Houston win here. It seems like they're kind of falling apart. Some players, we talked about it a little bit last week. Mark Thompson seems like he's ready to kind of pack it in here to
Mark
end out
Thompson
the
put
season.
out the door. He's packed. He's got his suitcases all ready to go.
It sure sounds like it, based on some of the things he was saying. He kind of briefly touched on it on Twitter, saying it's been a cool 7 years, kind of alluding to that this might be the end for him. Kind of interesting to see. I don't necessarily know that he wouldn't have suitors if he continued to want to play after this, but that's a kind of a story for another day, I think. But looking forward to next week, we'll go ahead and pick the Saturday game since we'll be back next Saturday for you guys. So what are your thoughts on the Memphis Showboats versus Michigan Panthers in Detroit?
I think that the Michigan Panthers are going to win. I think it's going to be close because I think that Memphis, at some point, John DeFilippo has to get them on track. They have to get something going. The season's over pretty much, but just for the players' sake, I think they need a win, and I think that that's going to come next week.
Do you have a score prediction?
18-15. Just a horrible, ugly game.
All right, fair enough. I could definitely see that, especially from these teams. Man, I think I'd have to take Michigan at home, although who knows what kind of home field advantage we'll see with Ford Field right now and the way these USFL teams are represented. But ultimately, I think I'll definitely pick Michigan. We'll see how the work he plays to tomorrow, and it might sway my decision by next week. But I'm going to take Michigan 21-17 over Memphis. I just don't have a whole lot of faith in Memphis's offense right now. Although they did score over 20 points today. But looking forward to Houston Roughnecks versus the Birmingham Stallions in Protective Stadium. What are your thoughts on this one?
100-0.
All right. All right. So Birmingham, and what's your realistic score prediction?
Realistic score prediction 36-9, I think. I think that's very realistic for Birmingham to just run all over Houston. I don't see Houston. I think they're probably scared to show up to the stadium, honestly. They might not.
I mean, obviously at this point, like I said, they're kind of packing it in already. It's going to be interesting to see how they approach this game for sure. But I got to go with Birmingham in this game. But I think maybe like 32-15 is you probably more of my speed here. So a little bit of a quick episode, given that we don't have, it's just the two of us tonight, but any final thoughts for this one?
Oh man. Can't wait for Michael to be back.
No doubt. He's the talker for sure.
He really is. We this is an efficient episode, man. It's been 21 minutes.
Hey, nice, quick, to the point, and then get out of here and get on with our night.
Fantastic.
On that note, what do you have coming up on your channel?
Oh man, just the usual. I might put out some YouTube shorts here pretty soon, but honestly, my stuff isn't going to start picking up again until the spring season starts ending. So when the UFL season wraps up, the LFA, and I'm thinking I'm going to do a weekly show on the ELF, like a weekly highlights show. So yeah,
very nice. That would be dope. Definitely would be excited to see that. Would love to have you on around the indoor football world at some point if you'd like to come on that as well.
Yeah.
Every Saturday early in the morning. Nice. It'd be 7 o'clock your time, I think.
Oh, perfect.
But definitely check that out next Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern time, 6 a.m. Mountain time, 7 a.m. Central time. And then, catch us here next Saturday for spring football reports every weekend. So we'll catch you in the next episode.
I'm a game changer. changer.